Alright, so this is my Crypt deck Legacy, or Crypt Black Devotion. So as you can see, I have Crypt Rats. You pay X, and you spend black mana for that. You deal X damage to all creatures and all players. So obviously this is a burn style deck. We have Gray Merchants of Apostel. When Gray Merchant enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is the devotion to black. That means for every black symbol on black permanents you have on your side of the field. You gain life equal to the life lost this way, since this does it to each opponent. So if you're playing against multiple players, you'll gain multiple life. He's a 2/4, so he's pretty good. He's like a backup, just an extra way of making opponent lose life points. But he's also very useful in for you to gain life points in case you're in a scenario where, you know, you might have took a couple of damage from playing Crypt Rats earlier, and paying some light mana and doing some damage, or you took some battle damage. You might want to gain some of that life back, and then finish off your opponent with Crypt Rats. Another way you'll make your opponent lose life points is with Dash Hopes. If you could counter a target spell, that'd be great, but typically it doesn't. It's like, I'll say 95% of the time, Dash Hopes is just going to make your opponent lose 5 life, because your opponent's going to pay 5. Obviously, because you're going to play it on stuff that they want. If they want to, if they're trying to summon a big boss monster of theirs, they're going to pay the 5 life, so you don't counter their monster. Or they have a spell card that, I don't know, will let them search for something in their deck that they really need for their combo or something. They'll pay 5 life. You get the idea. They're going to pay 5 life for something they consider really important. Typically, they might not pay 5 life for something that would deal less damage than what they pay. So if they have a monster that has like 2 attack or a 1/1, they're typically not gonna pay 5 life for a 1/1. They'll let the 1/1 die and then just try to summon something stronger later on. But obviously you want to save this for the moment they're gonna summon something pretty big, or they're gonna play one of their best cards, and then you can respond. So this is essentially your Black Lightning Bolt. Basically, it's all about trying to get your opponent to pay that 5 life. If you play 2 of these, that's half your opponent's life points. So if they pay twice, boom, there you go. They're halfway to losing. And as you can see with Gray Merchant's own effect, if you get 3 Gray Merchants in effect to the graveyard, which is possible because we have Buried Alive, you'll be able to use Living Death to bring it back onto the field. All 3 would trigger, since now you have 6 devotion on the field. Each one will deal 6 to each player, each opponent, and you will gain 6, 6, and 6, 6, 6, 12, 18. So right there you'll deal 18 to all your opponents, and you'll gain 18. Just that alone can deal a lot. So those 3, like that combination, along with even just 1 Dash Hope, win you the duel. You'll be able to beat one of your opponents relatively easy. Especially this is mainly for one-on-one, of course, but if you are playing against multiple players, it's nice to spread that love, right? Spread that damage. And then of course you're gaining, so if you did have like more than 1 opponent, let's say you had 2 opponents, you'll gain twice. So you gain 18 twice, that's 36 life. So you just gain 36 life, while both your opponents lost 18 each. That's awesome, right? Priest of Guise helps you get board presence a lot faster, because on your 3rd turn, if you have multiple copies of Priest of Guise, or let's say you have 2 Priest of Guise in your hand, and like a Crypt Rats, for example, you'll be able to summon Priest of Guise, summon another Priest of Guise, summon the Crypt Rats on your 3rd turn, so you have 3 monsters already on the field. You end your turns, your opponent's turn, he does stuff, your turn, you draw, play a land, so now you got 4 mana, Typically, I like to wait until my 5th turn where I have 5 mana, because I rather deal 5. You know, you want the numbers to add up nicely. So you want to do 5 with Crypt Rats. You want to do 5 with Dash Hopes. You know what I mean? That right there is already half your points, life points. You know, you want to do that much. If you could do more, you could do more, right? You want to do at least that much. And then, because Crypt Rats will destroy himself as well as the Geises, whenever you get the chance to, you know, once you have, you know, make sure you have 5 mana. That's important to, well, I like to wait until I have 5 mana to go off with Crypt Rats, because that will guarantee that I have the 5 mana to go off with my Living Death, because I could afford Living Death, pay 5, exile the creatures in my grave, which will be Crypt Rats and the Geises. Me and my opponent sacrifices whatever monsters we still remain on the field, and then we special summon whatever we banish from the grave. And for me, it would be, you know, a Crypt Rat and about 2 Priest of Gix. And right there, the 2 Gix will give me 6 mana. I could pump that 6 black mana into the Crypt Rats, 6 damage to all creatures and all players. So I already dealt 5, now I'm dealing 6. That right there is 11 with 2 Dash Hopes. You know what I mean? That's 21. That's game right there in itself. So you get the idea. But one good little simple combo, especially if you have the 2 card combo, which is you have a Buried Alive and a Living Death. Obviously, 3rd turn you want to play Buried Alive to send 3 Grave Merchants of Asphodel to the graveyard, just so you can set up that combo, so you can have it, because it's a pretty strong combo by itself. So you want to have it, and then, you know, try to go for, you know, your 5th turn Living Death. So that means within your 4th turn you do something else, like you'll probably just play your 4th land and your turn. And if you have 2 Dashing Hopes, that's even better, because then you're going to, whatever they play, you'll try to counter it, and your opponent is probably going to pay 5 life, because to them that's very important, but they don't realize they're killing themselves because they just weaken themselves. Even just 1 Dash Hopes is enough to put them in, you know, Grave Merchant kill range, because 3 Grave Merchants summoning at the same time is going to deal, you know, 6 damage each, so that's 18 altogether. So just 1 Dash Hopes going off with the 5 life thing is going to set them up for the kill. We have Dreadscape Zombie. It's good, decent. You know, you gotta have something you could drop on turn 2 relatively easy that could defend you. You know, you want to protect your life points as much as possible, so you could pull off a combo. Plus, it has Unearth, so it's replayable. So even if you use it as a chump blocker, as it were, to take a hit for you, you could always bring it back, and then it'll gain haste, so you'll be able to attack back with it. So that's always good. It's useful as a discard fodder for when you play Rotting Rats. You could discard Dreadscape Zombie, and then for 1 mana, you know, you can bring back Dreadscape Zombie and be able to attack. You know, so that's always good. Of course, Rotting Rats also has Unearth, so that makes it reusable. So you pretty much get 2 discards off of it, and then it helps you get some of your key cards in the graveyard. You know what I mean? It's just a discard outlet to get some of your key cards for your Living Death combo to go off. Plus, it helps you control, you know, slow down the pace of the duel by making your opponent having to discard probably some key cards they have, or some extra copies of stuff. You never know, you might end up discarding something crucial, like a counterspell or something they could have used to stop your Living Death. So that always helps out. Sometimes they discard a big monster that's you know, beneficial to you. You don't have to worry about them summoning it anytime soon. All right. Mourn Welk. I typically invoke them, because 7 for 3/3, it's gonna take a while, and plus that's too much. Right, so I love the fact that I can invoke them, pay 4, summon them, and my target player discards 2 cards. That's awesome, and that's whenever he enters play. So if I bring it back with Living Death, again, same thing. You could kind of do a Warren Welch hand destruction combo where you use obviously Buried Alive to send 3 copies to the graveyard. Then on your 5th turn, you play the Living Death, bring all 3 back, and right there you can make your opponent discard 6 cards from his hand, so that could give you a great advantage. And then you have 3 3/3s, and 3/3s are decent. I mean, they're not perfect, they're not awesome like 5/5 or 10/10 or anything like that, but they're decent enough to give you a fighting chance and win you the duel. Plus, they're among the strongest in the deck because everything else is like 2/1, 2/1, 1/1, 2/4. Decent defense, but not good attack. 2/1, you get the idea. So, pretty much these are your beefcakes. Of course, Dash Hopes, mainly to burn your opponent. Living Death is the main, trump card in your deck. So you gotta make sure your opponent's tapped out. That's what you want, them to be tapped out, so you can play this with no response and unleash the full fury. Also keep track of their graveyard, look what's in the grave, see if it's the right timing, because they will be able to bring something back from the grave, especially since you'll be milling their hands using some of the mill effects in the deck. They might have tossed some pretty good monsters to the graveyard that you might want to look out for, because summoning them might give them the advantage. You know what I mean? Again, Buried Alive just sets up your combo with quickness. Diabolic Servitude is like a pseudo Living Death. You know what I mean? You can use it, so you can use Mourn Welk and summon it over and over again. Use Mourn Welk as a chump blocker. You know what I mean? To take a hit for you. You'll block with it. When it dies, this will turn to your hand. So then next turn you just play it again, bring them back, 2 more cards off your opponent's hand. So you know what I mean? You're just causing havoc with that. Again, you can bring back a lot of things. You could use this and bring back Priest of Geist. So 3 of the black mana used to play the Diabolic Servant, you get 3 of it back, so you can use it to play something else. You know what I mean? Maybe another Buried Alive, so you can set up the graveyard. Maybe some little Dredgescape zombies, some Rotting Rats. And, it's a really good card, so it's a pseudo, Living Death. And of course, it could work with your Grave Merchant, especially if you already have a couple monsters already on the field. You could just bring it back and get, gain some life, of course, deal some damage in the process. Use it to block. It dies, of course. You get Diabolic Servant back to hand. You play Diabolic Servant again. Okay, I keep forgetting that part. It's that it exiles a monster. You won't be able to reuse it, but you'll be able to reuse it for any other copy. That's what I keep forgetting. You gotta the monster that you bring back with it. If it dies, it'll go out of play. So that's what remember that part. I keep forgetting that part of the line is the card actually gets banished, but you'll just grab multiple copies. So that's why Buried Alive is important, to help you keep the grave filled with multiple copies of stuff. Just being able to bring this back even one time when you have a couple of things on the field is enough to weaken your opponent and help reinforce your life. Of course, Bajuka Bog is really good for comboing it with Living Death, because it will help you empty out their graveyard, so that way you could play Living Death and not worry about them bringing back anything that could be a issue to you, especially if you don't finish your opponent off. Like, let's say you don't get the Grave Merchant combo or Crypt Rat with the Priest of Geist combo or anything like that, or not even the Mourn Welch is enough to give you an advantage. Preventing them from having monsters that are stronger than yours. Just being able to bring back a couple monsters and just swing every turn. Especially when you brought back Mourn Welch, you already reduced your opponent's ability to play anything against you, so you can just swing for a couple turns and win that way. So that helps a lot. Ebon Stronghold enters the battlefield tapped. Tap it to add black mana, or tap and sacrifice and add 2 black mana. So this, it's a little mana ramp. As It's one of the cards you obviously want to play first turn, because you're not going to do much in your first turn. Second turn is when you might try to play some moves, try to go off, set some stuff up. Nykthos, Shrine of Nyx, of course, legendary land. Tap, add 1 colorless mana, or pay 2, tap, choose a color, add to your mana pool an amount of mana of that color equal to the devotion to that color. Obviously, you'll choose black, and for every permanent you have that has the black mana symbol on it, you get that much mana. So it's a good way of, making a lot of mana real quick, so that we can play your, main combo cards. Doesn't hurt. And 8 basic swamps, just because you need mana. And that's the end of the deck profile.